JFIN Group. As this chart shows, Chinese consumer loan delinquency rates have been falling pretty darn steadily since the pandemic in 2020. For example, what was a 4.46% delinquency rate at the beginning of 2020, right as the pandemic was starting, has practically cut in half to a 2.35% delinquency rate. This has two effects to a consumer loan company like JFIN, both of which are positive. Revenue from loan facilitation services has been growing and growing from 1.47 million to 2.88, then 3.48 million. There are a lot of new customers trying to get loans from JFIN for the first time, but fewer and fewer existing customers going delinquent on their loans also accelerates this revenue growth quite significantly. Then the second type of revenue from the releasing of guarantee liabilities. Guarantee liabilities exist to buffer the company from future delinquent loans. As the actual delinquency rates are less and less every year, that allows for, beginning in 2022, significant decreases in the liability reserves. As long as delinquency rates improve by getting lower and lower, JFIN will pick up pretty substantial revenue spikes for the foreseeable future. I'm talking about Chinese citizens literally getting their personal and business loans through their phones on an app. Probably the most major risk coming from this business being in China instead of in any other part of the world is explained by the company's management right here. JFIN does need to be filing paperwork to maintain approval from the Cyberspace Administration of China. The acronym for this is CAC, and according to JFIN's legal counsel, the CAC does not currently recognize JFIN as a critical information infrastructure operator. If the CAC were to begin labeling JFIN such a thing, well then JFIN would be subject to regular cybersecurity reviews. And so the CAC lists that the requirements to be undergoing these cybersecurity reviews is if at some point the company begins to develop important network infrastructure and information system technology in one of the categories of public telecommunications, information services, energy sources, transportation, or just general critical industry. And it's this last section, general critical industry, which JFIN lawyers will need to be keeping an eye on. Right now, personal and commercial loans do not fall under critical industry, but any potential investors or employees of JFIN will be keeping an eye on whether the CAC begins to think of consumer finance as something other than peripheral. Right now, as of the latest thinking, there is a relatively low likelihood that the operations of JFIN or any subsidiaries will catch the CAC's attention. However, there is one caveat to that.
This video is intended for educational purposes. Opinions made by me or the Sage Seeds AI are not investment advice.
A specific subsidiary of JFIN has a technology platform that does provide commercial internet information services. That platform is operated by the subsidiary Jirong Yongki Information Technology, but they figured out a workaround for the time being. Instead of directly providing information services, they have engaged a third party paying for a value-added telecommunications business license, completely separate from the rest of JFIN, as long as every year JFIN can secure a business license with that third party. The cost of this, the risk that they're accepting instead, is that any failure to obtain the relevant license may cause this subsidiary to be sanctioned, perhaps even fined, or maybe just given a warning. But any of those situations will probably cause JFIN to close the online platform of that specific subsidiary, which will temporarily remove the revenue from the business. In the risk factors section, I'm going to skip most of this, but it does actually explain in this paragraph right here, Jirong Yongke and Jirong Yun together are actually where all the commercial business of JFIN is avoiding cybersecurity reviews from the Chinese government as long as they can obtain third-party licenses with tech vendors. That does mean these tech vendors have a lot of leverage over JFIN. Going to the income statement now, And looking just for where those tech vendors are being represented, the likeliest place where these tech vendor fees for this license are being represented is under facilitation and servicing, which we can see here has since 2021 increased every single year, especially in the last year. Now, luckily, despite these increases in costs, we can see the income from operations has actually been increasing very healthily anyway, meaning that even this big increase in facilitation and servicing is more than made up for by the millions and millions of additional renminbi being made in revenue. At a net income per share level, focusing on this diluted number, the white row, since 2021, the earnings per share has gotten close to tripling. And so the license structure is very much working for now. Lots of these earnings coming directly from the commercial business. But really both sides, commercial and consumer, have been growing and growing and growing. Whatever JFIN is doing to entice people to go to their app for personal loans does seem to be preferable for lots and lots of customers. Now, I try my best to only focus on extreme valuation stories, either very undervalued or very overvalued on this channel. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Is this a temporary growth story? I think the Sage Seeds AI is picking up on this because it has been almost 5 years of continuous growth. But is 5 years a little deceptive? Maybe not long enough to actually be confident in this business. Thanks for watching until the end. I'd really appreciate if you could like and subscribe.